5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good day, goodbye, hello. Just did that for Dave. How are you all doing? Welcome along. A bit later than had planned. I do apologise. Yes, it was supposed to be 7 o'clock. A few technical issues. Gremlins had got in there, and me being a total technophobe, I turned it on and off 2 or 3 times. It just didn't help. But thankfully, thanks to a very nice lady called, believe it or not, called Karen at Microsoft, I think we're back and working. So we're going to be talking redemptions this evening. It's going to be interesting to see the guys' thoughts on that. There's 3 of us in at the moment. It's a boys' night at the moment. Hopefully Kate will be in. Apparently she's sorting her food out at the moment. So she's in the kitchen. And let's be honest with you, where else would you expect to find a woman? Now, I'm joking. All right. Do not tell Kate I said that. I jest. I do. Andreas, hi. How you doing? Well, let's get the guys in and we'll make a start. And Kate will join us when she's free. Are you ready? Let's talk Leicester. Oh, I can imagine it now. Of all the feminists writing in, you shouldn't be saying that. All I will say is, if anybody's watching, Dave told me to say it. Dave, good evening, sir. How are you?
Well, it is the only place for them, isn't it? kitchen in the bedroom.
Well, you had to take it there, didn't you? You had to take it there.
Want me dinner?
How is the delightful Kathy, by the way?
She's lovely, thank you. I can't get you big, if you know what I mean.
I would hope not. I'm not having Viagra today. That's what it is.
There you go.
It's going well, I think. It's going well.
Really well.
Craig, bring some sensibility to the show. My wife, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you very much. Nice to be back after a little break, but hope you didn't miss me too much.
Well, you missed Piles when they're gone, and they're a pain in the arse as well, aren't they?
Has he been away?
He's always away.
Yeah, good point.
When was it? I thought, to be honest with you,
I was experiencing. No, I think I sent you a couple of clips, didn't I, of experiencing some French football I did last weekend or whatever down in Nice. So
they're all running away.
It was very interesting to see, though. I mean, we talk about our club and how big our club is, and you've got Nice there who are qualified for the Europa League last year. You know, a decent sized team, 34,000 seater stadium, and there was 20,000 in it. So, not not a great crowd, to be honest. So, us pulling in 30,000 plus every week is still pretty good.
It is indeed. Talking of being pretty good, Kate, good evening. How are you? Sorry for
How are we
I
doing?
got everything working. I pressed the red button and it got working. Did you sort your food out in the kitchen?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Had last night's cottage pie.
Wow.
Next day
Nice.
food is so good, isn't it? I don't know what it is about it, but it's so much better.
You don't have to cook it.
You don't have to cook it, and it marinates and everything just tastes a bit juicier, doesn't it? I like it.
Chris said that's where you should be anyway.
No, I didn't. Don't believe him. Don't believe him. I never.
Dave's up to his old tricks.
He is. He's in and he's stirring it
Just
straight
telling you
away.
what he said.
Oh, I tell you what. If I said you've been in the kitchen, you don't want to know where Dave said you should be.
I said I disagreed with you. You know that. You record this, don't you? Bugger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody's watching. We'll edit this bit out. It's okay. It's okay. Good. Right. Yeah. I've been looking at this and I've been thinking, like, I was watching us against Coventry. First of all, let me ask you, Dave, that performance against Coventry, maybe it's just me, but I thought it was a pretty decent performance.
Yeah, in a bizarre way, wasn't it? It was frustrating, but I saw little flickers of what we were. Certainly with the midfield, with Harry Winks, his one touch, players were where he thought they'd be. I hadn't seen that before this year anyway. In fact, not a lot before that, but I was a little bit optimistic about it. I thought, hey, we just might be getting back to, something decent. I mean, it was far from perfect, obviously, but then with the new team and new manager and everything else, it's not going to be perfect. But yeah, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, I was as well. And Kate, I mean, when I spoke to you post-show, you gave the team performance a 7. Most people were that were on the chat were sort of going 5 to 6. And I actually went 8 because I thought it was we'd up against a team that had scored 12 goals in 2 games and only conceded 4, and yet we'd kept a clean sheet. Now, to me, when any new manager comes in, the first thing you've got to do is start keeping clean sheets. Especially, come on, he's kept 3 so far this season. That's more than Ruud van Nistelrooy managed in 30-odd games last season.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think I'd have gone as high as 8 because 8 to me is more the upper echelons of performances, and I don't think we were quite there. But it felt really robust. It didn't feel like we were going to concede. I thought we played some nice stuff at times, and it just felt more like a team performance, like we're starting to perform as the collective and as the unit. So that's what I was really encouraged to see, and I feel like there's incremental improvements every game with that. Little tweaks here and there, you're seeing things improve. Obviously, introduction of Winks was massive all game. JJ played really well. Carranza looked really useful. It's starting to feel like there's a little bit of momentum coming, and the performance itself, obviously, we wanted to score. There was 2 really good opportunities that we didn't take, but it felt good. I went away feeling quite satisfied and happy, considering that the amount of goals that Coventry have already scored. So, yeah, I thought it was a good result, really.
Good. No, well, at least you were satisfied. I mean, you had a better day than the rest of us, probably. Craig, move on quickly. It was nice to see that we could actually, when we passed the ball, that we realised what colour shirt we were playing in. Because last season, I know Ruud went on about the different coloured boots. I think most of the players were colourblind. But we actually put together some really good passing moves.
I'll take your word for it because I didn't see it. I wasn't there.
Of course you weren't.
I thought it was going to be really controversial then and go, it was absolutely terrible.
I did.
Absolutely. What I'm going to say is, from
well,
my
you might
point
have watched the highlights, Craig, being a Leicester fan,
Well, that's what I was going to say. I'm going to say we only played for about 8 minutes, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, But what an 8 minutes.
What an 8 minutes. It was end to end, to be honest.
Well,
But
let me move on. I'll keep that question for Dave.
Let me just say the little bit I did see, and from what I've heard of everybody else's opinions, it almost sounds like we're not far away from having the right team now. If from what I've seen, if you dropped, JJ into the Soumare role or whatever, so he's alongside Winks, and then you either choose Ayew or Ramsey when he's back as a 10 with Carranza up front, it's starting to look like you've got a proper shape there with people who are forward thinking. I think that's the most important thing in this league. But it'd be interesting because I think he's given himself a few selection problems, which is a nice thing to have. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes next on Friday. Yeah,
well, I'm sure Kate will have her ideas at lunchtime on Friday. He wasn't obviously watching, Kate, because he never listened to you this week, did he? But it was close. It was close. Dave, we do all this, and I look at it, and this was the other thing. I tell you, this is the other thing why I went up as high as an 8, because you're up against, like I say, not only just a team that has scored 12 in 2, and are very much an informed team, but they've got a manager that's been there end of last season or most of last season, and obviously had all the pre-season, and yet there's our manager. He's only been there 8 games. Take the Fiorentina game away because he probably just was more of a watcher there, and and that's why I thought it was a good performance. But credit to Martin.
Sorry, I missed that last bit. You went all fuzzy wuzzy.
You sound a bit underwatery, Chris.
Do I?
Yeah, he's come back a bit now, but it was on and off. You were warbling.
I'm guessing you're saying.
What I was saying. That's a good thing.
Don't say him off.
I guess you were saying that our manager hasn't had as much time as theirs.
And if he's done this after 8 games, what's he going to do after 30?
Well, he changed the back four for a start, didn't he? Which made a big difference, I thought. I think Luke Thomas has been a revelation this year for all the stick he got. He seems to be able to keep in position a bit more. Vestergaard is as slow as ever, but in this level, he gets away with it, so that's good. And he's good going forward and passing forward. We played a few more long balls, which I haven't noticed we've done in the past. And we still had that terrible hangover of playing sideways and backwards when there's an obvious through ball available and people are making runs. My only worry is, you're probably going to deal with all this later, but Mavadidi, he shouldn't be starting. I think that's something else I'll say out as the weeks go on. He's been disappointing for a couple of years now after his initial burst. And Soumare, of course, I'm not sure. I thought he was doing okay, doing better this year, but I still think he's the wrong person for that.
Well, we will come on to Soumare. I have a feeling it's going to be your new Amati this season. But Kate, I want to start with the back four. Look, I'm surprised Nicoli was dropped, but he has got the odd clanger in him. But when a new manager comes in, you have to start by defending, especially when you look at us last season. I mean, like you say, we were conceding goals like water through a paper towel. And yet, so when you come, it doesn't matter if he starts, if he sets the striker up and then they're scoring, 3 goals a game, we would probably still be conceding 4. So the first thing any manager's got to do is sort that defence out. And by the look of it, all right, Faes came back, and I wasn't sorry about that. You might find that hard to believe, but we're not conceding.
No, we do look a bit more sure of ourselves at the back, and we couldn't look any less so last season, could we? I think the issue that Marty had, when you're saying about stopping the goals going in or scoring them, Marty had both to do. We couldn't score and we couldn't stop conceding last year. So, he had the obvious lever in Vardy. He had no real option of what to put in place there. And then there wasn't a lot of creativity going on, and the ball was with the back four in too much possession all the time consistently last year. So he had a real job on his hands. So yeah, he would have had to address it, not only by shoring up the back four, but making sure the back four have outlets to go to, and then to get the ball up the pitch. And I feel like that sort of 2/3 has coming along nicely, especially with the introduction of JJ and then hopefully Ramsey when he comes back. The goal scorer is still TBC. We're not sure what Carranza's about. He looked quite sharp on Saturday, but yeah, it's encouraging to see that we're keeping clean sheets. We didn't look like conceding at all on Saturday, which was really encouraging to see. And it's just like I said, incremental steps, little by little, step by step, and don't get ahead of yourselves. And that's a challenge, particularly for someone like Wout Faes, because he does get ahead of himself. And he does make errors. So Marty feels like he's stripped it all back and is gradually rebuilding the confidence and the structure of the team.
Craig, I know we didn't see this game, but you must be reasonably happy the fact that, looking at Wout Faes, in fairness, you were the only one that was defending the defender last season. Kate's still not overly impressed, although in fairness, Coley's also got an error in him most games. And I think when you change the back four, and look, let's face it, this time last year we were begging the manager not to pick those two. But he's looked good when he's come on, when he was a sub. He got his first start. We kept a clean sheet, I say, against a team that was scoring for fun. Is he the first redemption player?
I think maybe for everyone else, as you said, he wasn't for me. I thought there was a player there still. I think he was over harshly treated. Every defender we've had has a rick in him. And I think a lot of it was sometimes more about his body language and his reaction to things going wrong rather than the mistakes that he was making. And sometimes he just gets, he wants to overplay, doesn't he? He wants to come running out with the ball and be aggressive and on the front foot. And sometimes that gets you into trouble. But I think the positives that he brings outweighs those occasional blips. And virtually every defender does it. I've seen this season, Van Dijk just making errors that are not as obvious, but sort of backing off players, not closing them down. And then he's the first to throw his arms in the air. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. You look at what everybody says is the best defender in the league, constantly throwing his arms in the air, blaming everyone else, which is something that was accused of Faes. But I think he's been solid. And I think in this division particularly, I think he's a really solid defender, and I think he's better on the ball than a Coley. So I think he's deserves his spot, and hopefully, he keeps it now going forward.
Dave, do you think? Look, is he in the last year of his contract? I'm not sure with Wout Faes. Does anybody know? Is this his last year? I think it is, isn't it? So come January, he could sign for or agree deals with continental clubs. Would you offer him an extension? And whether he'd sign it or not, obviously, is another matter.
Well, I've never really been a big hater of him. I just didn't like his attitude. I don't think I've ever questioned his footballing ability, but as Craig said, he doesn't show that he cares enough, and it's always somebody else's fault. And he's casual. Would I offer him another contract? Well, the way we've got rid of players this year, probably not. How's Harry Suter doing? Do we know?
Could be back towards the end of the year.
Okay. So maybe I would. We haven't really seen enough of that guy, have we? Well, I don't think I have.
Well, he's been injured most of the time.
Yeah, that's right. But Australia love him. He scored a few goals for them, and he's a top player for them. And he's done all right. Was it Stoke he was on loan at?
Yes.
Sheffield United.
Sheffield United. Yeah, he did a bit of both. He came from Stoke, went to Sheffield United. That's right. The red lines were confusing.
He's at Sheffield United. That's the issue.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think he could be a good defender in this league. I think he would do a good job for us. So maybe it wouldn't hurt letting Wout go. Certainly if
Well,
he wants to.
actually, and I've got to say thanks to FM 303. I didn't see that come up. I was also checking on Transfer Market. It's actually got another 2 years.
Does he?
We
Well, he gets some money for it.
we gave him a 5-year contract. Now, Kate, has he sorted his head out? Because that's the thing that you said about a few players.
I was going to say his hair.
I don't think he can ever sort his hair out, let's be honest. But do you think... I wasn't expecting that. That was a good one. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Do you think he's sorted his head out? And we'll come on to, obviously, the midfielder that you said the same about. But his head wasn't in a good place, was it? And was that all him, or could you say that was a bit of his international manager as well?
I don't know about the international side of it. Wout just seems to have this arrogance about him and a swagger that is not particularly likable at times. He's made some calamities, and they all have. Don't get me wrong; like, he's not the only one to make mistakes, but he just has a swagger that I don't think is particularly likable. But with the cup in his ear to the fans, and he's got a bit of attitude. But Marty seems to have been really able to say, just let bygones be bygones, and the slate's wiped clean, and we can just start afresh this season. And I feel like that's what he's been able to do. Like, keep him out of the starting 11 for a little bit, for his own benefit, and maybe just to let things settle down with the fans a bit, and gradually reintroduce him. And I think he's done the same with Winks, and it seems to have worked really well. And I don't disagree; he's one of our better centre backs. He just had to build a few bridges and put in some performances. I do feel like he lapses in concentration sometimes, so that's a focal point for him. But he did that on Saturday. He did really well. And him and Vestergaard looked as sure as they did a couple of years ago. So, I was happy with that back line. Obviously, Ricky P being in there as well does help Wout quite a lot, because he's his side of the pitch, and Ricky P just reads the game so well and can protect him a bit as well.
Agree. Craig, I mean, to give him his full name, it's Wout Felix Lena Faes. There you go. Well done, Chris. So he's got 2 seasons. Is this his level? Well, first of all, I should say, do you think international managers should keep the nose out of things, or should they say these things quietly, not sort of in to the press and what have you? And if he's got 2 seasons to go, and let's say we get promoted this season, we still don't know what's happening with points deductions and what have you, is he good enough again for the Premier League, or do we try and cash in on him with only 2 years left?
I mean, that's a tricky one. The first point about international managers, I'm always wary these days. Maybe I'm just showing my age and a little bit of weariness. And because newspapers and TV, they ask questions to provoke an answer. So it'll be portrayed as he's come out and said he needs to be playing first team football, Premier League football or whatever. But that may well be in response to a question that was asked him. Do you think Wout Faes should be playing in the Premier League to get his place back in your team? And his response will be, well, ideally, yes. And that is just taken then into a story of, what comes across and what's given to try and get the clickbait. So I think they'll always be asked questions and they will always answer. And they want their best players performing at the highest level, to bring that to the national team. So I don't think that's ever going to change. As for whether he's Premier League level, it's funny because he's not top level, but I think in a better, more balanced side, I think he's more than capable enough. You look at some defenders and you think, I mean, you look at the likes of Dan Burn, for instance, when he was at Brighton or even still at Newcastle, he doesn't look anything like an athlete. He's not great on the ball, but he does a good, solid job because he's got very good players around him. And I think Wout Faes is a decent, solid defender, even at Premier League level. Not at the elite level, but then that's not those results, if we got promoted against the top 6, 8, are not what would keep us up. It would be the rest of them. And I think from that perspective, he's solid enough. When you only got to look at the likes of a Man United backline these days, and you think he'd probably get in there. So I think he's much maligned. And yes, some players have attitude, and I don't think you're going to change them. And it's just the way they are. But if you can work on those lapses of concentration and stay focused, then I think there's a very good defender in there. And that's the big if, I guess.
It is, yeah. Dave, moving on to his partner, the one player that probably has had more stick than anybody, Mr. Vestergaard. We said he was a little bit peed off because, he got told off for bringing his dog in, and yet the captain can bring his dog in and get a full interview. But, I mean, again, is this his level?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, and he'll get caught out at this level as well for pace, but yeah, it's his level. And again, he's decent distributing the ball, so we don't want players just hoofing it. We've got a goalkeeper who can't really distribute the ball, so to have Vestergaard there is good. But I think we are definitely. Coventry were disappointing, weren't they? For the goals they've scored. I mean, they didn't punish us at all for anything. And I think some teams will. So we need to sort out that central area, the back four.
Okay, Vestergaard, well, this is probably his level, as we've said. He's got another 2 years with us. I think this season, and it is a long season, but I think that up until January, and obviously things may change in January with the window, I think Vestergaard and Faes are probably going to be his two. Now that we've got past that window, he's put Faes in over Akoli, who hadn't really done that much wrong, if anything. But again, that last year, if we do get promoted, obviously it's a big if, I wouldn't particularly want him as a starter in the Prem.
No, I wouldn't either. But we're a bit limited in that sense with finances and selection, because I think Akoli has put a few feet wrong this season, and that's why he's been dropped. I think positionally he's been left quite wanting, actually, and he's been caught out a few times. And he's not as good on the ball as Faes is, to be honest. But yeah, if we go back up to the Premier League, like Craig says, I think if he's got a decent team around him, he may be able to get away with it. But that's a big if, and that requires spending money either to convert some of these loan signings to permanents or to just go to market again. So as it stands at the moment with the team that we've got or not got, like Faes shouldn't really be a Premier League centre back for me and be depended on too much in that sense.
Craig, the one player that we thought, I'm trying to think of questions for you not to do with the Coventry game.
Did you watch Strictly?
No, we're not going there. Back in your cage. Back in your cage. No, Craig, we thought Ben Nelson was going to be the big breakthrough player this season. Was at Oxford last season. I mean, the Oxford guys said he was too good to play for Leicester. He should be in a Premier League team. Seen very little of him. Nothing really since the Huddersfield game, which wasn't his finest hour. Not even on the bench on Saturday. I guess he will get his time at some point, but I'm surprised he wasn't even on the bench.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, but then, you don't want to clog up your bench with defensive players, and I think if you've got people who are capable of playing in a few positions, then that's going to push him down a little bit. It just shows you, particularly with defenders, I think, if you get an opportunity, you've got to grab it, maybe more so than a midfielder or a striker, because if you make mistakes, they lead into goals. So there's a harshness, I guess, with that comes with making your debut or sort of performances where you've got an opportunity to prove yourself. He had that in the Huddersfield game, and he made 2 or 3 pretty poor mistakes, poor errors. you could put that down to him wanting to try and do well, over eagerness. But you can't afford that. Some of those challenges he put in, he should have given at least one penalty away. And Marty's been ruthless with it, to be honest. If there's better players there, you can't really. If we're in a better position later on in the season, I can see him getting opportunities. At this stage in the season, you don't want to be playing catch up too much. So I don't think you can afford to let him do his training on the job. He's got to put more dependable defenders in there, and it's up to him. It's harsh, but that's the reality. If he gets an opportunity, he's got to take it better than he took his last one.
Indeed. Moving on then to a player for me, not so much had to prove anything, Dave. You just had to keep bloody fit, and that's Ricardo. 75 grand a week he's on. He's got his own private ward at the Royal Infirmary because he's injured that much. Hamza was doing an okay job there. You can't knock that. But when you're on 75 grand a week and supposedly our best defender, our leader, our captain, finally he started. But you've got to start with this player, and all right, he came on for the last 2 games. Are we expecting to see more of him this season?
I hope so. He's our best player, full stop. And I think, obviously, a very good captain who leads by example. But who knows? Once you start getting injuries, it's not easy to stop. The little niggles here and there turn into something a bit longer, then you're out for a month. And we just got to keep our fingers crossed and hope. Because I think if he does have a long spell off this time, that'll be it. We can't afford, even with somebody that good, to keep taking a chance. And I'd hate that moment to happen. But you've got to, prepare for it. And maybe that's what Hamza is there for. But he's not a fullback, Hamza. That's the problem. He gets caught out more than Luke Thomas used to get. So we have a problem there if Ricardo's not going to be fit. Why are you puffing up like that?
No one says Hamza. For me, I think Hamza's better than that, in fairness, in that position. I'd sooner see what he knows, central, defensive midfielder. Kate, what do you think about Hamza in that position? Should Ricardo be, starting when he's fit? You've got to start with your best players, and if he is one of our best players, he should be starting every game that he can.
Yeah, Ricardo needs to start every game if he can. The injury is a worry, and I think it's an ongoing management of his body on a weekly basis. But I think you could see quite demonstrably on Saturday the night and day between him and Hamza. Like, Hamza came on, and I saw someone describe it online as a car crash cameo, and that's how I would have described it on Saturday. I thought he was so poor when he came on, and that highlights the difference in quality. It's an absolute gulf between him and Ricardo. And Hamza has moments where he does really well, because some of his tackles, we all wish people were a bit more Hamza with their tackles. But I do think he is really, really poor on the ball, Hamza is. He's a really good industrial player, and he'll give his all and he'll get stuck in. But in terms of wanting to play the ball, he's not the best at it. So the gulf for me is a lot, and it's a problem if we have to rely on him at right back, because we'll have to play a more safe game. And you won't be able to see him do what Ricardo was doing. Ricardo was really pushing forward in possession on Saturday. Hamza just won't do that. So it will completely change the tactics and strategy and formation of the game, particularly in possession of what we do, because such is the importance of Ricardo's role.
So would you, if let's say Ricardo gets injured again, and I have a feeling he will before the end of the season, even if it's not during a match, our players seem to pick up injuries. Would you like to see Hamza go in that role, or come January, do you think we still need to go out and get another right back?
I think we probably need to go out and get another right back, I would think, because we've lost JJ in that position. That was obviously in the last few years has been in that position. So we do need to go to market again, I think. So it's just a case of hoping that we can nurse it until the summer potentially, and then see what league we're going to be in then. But yeah, I think that's one of the gaps that we need to fill, really, because Ricardo is in the last year of his contract as well.
Yeah, didn't I see a Coley plays fullback as well, or can do?
I don't know
and
actually.
Wout can play fullback.
Because you could
we
even go to a back three if it was really
yeah,
desperate.
you could, yeah. Well, we could with those two attacking wingers that we've got.
I'm just
that would
looking
be
at
trouble.
Coley now. It doesn't say that he plays right. He can play left or right centre back. He
Okay.
doesn't say, not saying that he won't, but
I
he's
thought he might have done when he first got here, whether it's friendlies or something. Maybe not. I don't know. I just had this feeling that he could play that side.
Enjoy your feelings while you get them, Dave. They don't, come about
No, not very often.
Kate, I'll just make you a quick message.
Have we got a Luke? Because a Luco could play. Or Luco's a fullback, isn't he? So
Yeah.
Is he not on the left though, or can he play both sides?
Everyone can play both. These are professional footballers.
No, they can't. James Justin couldn't play both. Well, he could play both sides, but not very well.
I didn't think he was a full back, put it that way. Anyway.
Not play right back at all.
No.
I don't know about Daniel Amati at right back. Than,
So would I.
Justin.
behave yourself.
The thing is, you've got to accept footballers aren't very bright. So when they're told they're a left back, they're a left back. When they're a right back, they're a right back. And that's the problem with it all. When I was a lad, players could play anywhere.
When you were a lad and you lived on a box in the on the M69.
A box? You were lucky.
Well done, mate. Well done. Kate, I sent you a message in the chat, by the way.
Oh, really?
Craig, I want to just go back, if I can, to Faes, because Tom's very much, and I want to sort of get your thoughts, because you're the one that sort of is more pro-Faes than any of us, which you're entitled to be. Tom thinks that Faes should be used in the midfield, because, being able to go forward. Prashant says would he be better in a different team?
Well, as I say, I think there's a lot of worse defenders in the Premier League at the minute than Faes. I think he just doesn't help himself with his attitude, and I think that highlights any mistakes that he makes. He could play midfield. I think he's decent enough on the ball. He's probably a more cultured version of Hamza, I would imagine. Who would put the tackles in, but be able to distribute the ball a little bit better. I think Hamza is definitely one who we should offload. I don't.
Really?
I don't see what he brings other than blocking the development of other players. He's not improved. He's been there a long time, and he runs around and he throws himself into tackles, and it looks great, and the fans love it. Until he gives away a last-minute penalty or some stupid challenge at the edge of the box. You should be promoting the likes of Aluko, who looks like he's got, a much better footballer.
Does every team not need somebody that will just sit there and just block and do nothing else? Just block and then give the ball away to somebody that can do something with it.
But I'm sure we've got other players. Surely we've got other players. You're in this division now, and what I can't say is that I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's been on loan to 2 or 3 other clubs in this division, and I don't think any of them have made a real concerted effort to keep him after a loan. I don't recall I think we may have knocked back one offer from someone, but he just hasn't improved, and that's my issue. Is if you've gained as many games as you've got, you should be improving, and not technically, but mentally, and that's his biggest problem. We talk about Faes being, mentally switching off. Hamza does it all the time, but because he throws himself into a tackle, it's almost accepted. I don't get it, and I like what he brings, but I don't think it's enough.
He has to, Craig, because that's the last gasp to get him out of the mistakes. When he's caught too far forward, he has to make that tackle, else, we're really in trouble.
He can't, he'll do it. He'll make one tackle, and then instead of thinking, right, okay, I'll just drop back in position there, he'll go again for the next one. Yeah. And that hasn't changed. you
Definitely
know, all the way
United
along.
fans were very positive about him. Probably, one or two of them were saying, well, had he not got injured towards the end, would have probably gone up and, in second. So I don't know. I didn't follow him last season.
Were they playing him more of that kind of
Right back.
midfielder?
No,
Yeah.
right back, I believe.
Yeah. Well,
But just talking about right backs, Dave and Kate, and Luco, his actual main position is right back.
Mm.
And
There you
his other positions are centre back. So, and it's nothing to do with the left back at all. But the only time I've seen him when he played, he was at left back. But hey ho, there we go. Very, very quickly before we move on to the midfield, Luke Thomas, you mentioned him before, Dave.
Mm.
I think he's not a bad player. He seems to be the one that everybody likes to sort of pick on. And they've just given him a new contract. And everybody was saying, like, oh, my God, why have you given him a new contract? And, is it 4 years or something like that they've given him? But let's be honest with you, that means in 4 years we can still sell him for hopefully a decent amount of money. And it all goes, because he's one of ours, it all goes into the bank, So, you have got that. Christensen back on the bench at the weekend. Who's going to be holding down that position for the rest of the season?
Well, Luke Thomas, the way he's playing, I think. I mean, he's got rid of his lack of awareness, which he had plagued him in the Premier League. He was well out of position, and we conceded a lot of goals on that right side. So that's good. He seems a bit stronger. Although he's still got to get those tackles right. He's not a great tackler. Not sort of smack out like that. So he needs to get a bit more strength. But I think he's going in the right direction, and I was pleased when he signed. That's a good show of faith for him, and I think he'll be all right.
Okay, you've got to go. I understand. So I will make this your last question. He seemed to be able to keep Mo Salah in his pocket all right, didn't he, last season? But I like Thomas. I'm not sure Christensen necessarily wants to be here. Did you agree with the contract extension? And B, who's the starter out the two for you?
Yeah, Luke's the starter out the two for me for definite. I don't really like VK at all, to be honest. I've grown to
He speaks very highly of you.
I just think over the course of time, I've been less and less impressed, and he's so one-dimensional. It drives me insane that he hasn't got a right foot, so he can never cut inside. I just find him really basic. He's a basic player. He's got a really good engine on him. 89 minutes or 8 minutes, he's got the same pace and energy that at like either end of the game. But yeah, for me, it would be Luke Thomas. In terms of the contract, I was a bit mixed about it because part of me is like, well, finances are a bit tight, and is he really part of our future? And I'm not 100% sure on that. But similarly, like you've just said, it's a good thing to tie someone into a long-term contract, because the upside of any sales is that it would be 100% profit. And if Luke's going to perform like he is in the Championship this season so far, then other Championship clubs might come in for him in the next couple of summers. You don't know. And that would be, you could charge quite a fee for him, I would think. You'd probably get double digits for him if you're lucky. So it's probably a good thing that we've signed him with hindsight, because we've got nobody else really. If Victor wants to go, he's obviously had an injury that's caught him out for quite some time. I thought I read he broke his jaw, but I wasn't 100% sure on that. So yeah, for me it would be Luke, and yeah, he's one of our own. He obviously loves playing for Leicester. He's a Leicester fan. I think he improves game on game. Like if you play him in successive games, he has a mistake in him. He's not the finished article, I don't think, and I don't think he probably really ever will be round out of a great left back. But he's doing all right for us at the minute. He's doing all right for us. He's steady Eddie for sure.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for popping. I know it's been a bit of a messy evening thanks to my PC, but I will see you on when is it? Friday
Well, I was
lunchtime.
going to suggest maybe doing Thursday because the game's Friday.
I'm just thinking about you. I'm don't work. I can do whenever.
I'll message you.
Message me, yes. Message me. Well,
All right, see you later, guys.
I'll wear a right rose so you recognise me.
Okay.
See you later,
Right,
Kate.
see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye. Right, Kate's gone. Let me just rearrange us here.
Okay. That's rearranged.
No, that's not rearranged. Where's it gone?
Am I the cross?
There you go.
There I am.
You should be put up on the cross. I'll tell you.
I should.
You know,
we're like the Marx brothers now. I think. which one's Groucho or Grouchy?
Oh, I'm grouchy. I'll take that. Definitely. Thanks to Kate for popping on. She had to go because we were late starting. But I want to talk Harry Winks, Craig. That was another one who was questioned about his attitude. Does he want to move? Does he want to sort of, have the odd weekend off or whatever it was? And we all have our thoughts on that. Maybe we were hoping to sell him, and that's why Marty wasn't picking him. But we do know he had an attitude. Mm-hmm. Do you think now, because when he was coming on as a sub, he was absolutely... he turned the games, really. And he was Kate's man of the match at the weekend. I know you didn't see it. It was deserves a mention. Your thoughts on Harry Winks?
Yeah, I think Marty's done it the right way. I think if you've got an attitude problem, which he clearly had, and you've fallen out with previous manager, you've got to be reintegrated slowly. You can't just be thrown back in there and everything's forgotten about. Mm-hmm. You've got to earn your right back amongst the other players for a start. I'm sure players don't like other professionals acting like he's acted. And so you have to find. You talk about redemption. He has to find redemption amongst his colleagues first, and then get reintegrated into the team, and then hopefully he'll get redemption amongst the fan base. Because I don't think anybody liked what he did. But you do that by performances on the pitch, and I'd like to see him be a little bit more progressive. I think there's too many of these little 5-yard passes. And I remember reading something about him last year that after a game, the first thing he does is look at his passing stats. Now, you and I could, just knock a ball 5 yards between us and look at how many passes we've got and be high up in them stats. As a player at his level, he needs to be more progressive, and I'd like to see him bring that into his game. And he can do it. We've seen him do it, whether he's running with the ball or whether it's playing sharp little passes in between lines, he can do it. I'd like that to be his first thought rather than just keeping the ball ticking over and safe, be a little bit more gung-ho sometimes. But he's in the right direction, definitely, in terms of redeeming himself. And, we know that he's a good enough player at this level, particularly.
Yeah. He did do it Saturday, Craig.
Yeah.
He was getting back to that way again where he was playing the balls off at an angle and
little round the corners.
Yeah, that's right. Which was great. It was nice to see because we haven't seen that at all this year.
Yeah. I think if he can, if Marty can get that 3 right, whoever's in front of him and whoever's on alongside him, that are playing those little balls around the corner or covering for one another, then we could be really strong in there. And I think that was our biggest weakness last year, that central area. And hopefully he's got enough players at his disposal now. He's just got to get all of those pieces, those little 3 cogs in the right spot. And I think then we'll kick off from there.
Totally. And I think as well, he's cut the players back because he wanted a smaller squad to play with, so he's got less players, but he seems to be getting more out of them. Dave, Winks, not so long ago, was one of the first ones off the pitch, never acknowledged the crowd or anything like that, which didn't endear him to the crowd. Didn't really celebrate when he scored against Who did he score against? Huddersfield, wasn't it? But I think it was the Birmingham game, which was the last home game. Straight over to the fans, applauding them, and what have you. And that's what the fans want, isn't it?
It's a catch-22, isn't it? I mean, when we got promoted last time, he was right in the fans, jumping in the lot. So that's not in doubt. When he was going through his problems, I mean, to be honest, who wouldn't fall out with Rude? He felt probably that with the criticism he was getting, he didn't want to go up, and applaud them and that sort of thing. And they probably wouldn't have applauded him. So it works both ways. So I think this shows that he's settling down a bit and he's come to terms with it. He's got a manager who is a little bit more flexible, maybe, which you have to be. It is just a job when all's said and done. If you've got a wife and family or having a baby or whatever, you get time off. And I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't know what happened behind closed doors or anything. But the fact is, his body language now shows that he probably has got over it and wants to give it a go. Because the club is still the club. It's still a happy, family-friendly club, no matter what goes on outside it. Every player that's been there always says what a great club it was to play for. And we've got to hang on to that, and we've got to make it, and the fans are important on that one. Because if you get criticism, it won't work.
Craig, is it just me? I mean, Dave sat there wearing a football top, as you can see, but I'm thinking that Chris Wilder has sneaked into the chat a little bit. Or is that just me?
Well,
you know what?
He very well could very well be Sheffield United manager in a few games' time anyway. So
yes.
I first had this accused about 5 years ago.
Oh, did you? It's not just me then.
And I strenuously denied it, unless the wife's seen two blokes. I'm not sure.
Love it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it was the Oxford game or the Birmingham game, Craig, but it was one of those where it was probably the best team goal I've seen Leicester score for ages. The pass in, it went through about 11 passes, 12 players or something like that before it went in. I think he is a vital cog of the team. And I'm very, very glad that Marty Cifuente stood up to him, unlike Brendan Rodgers and Tielemans. He stood up and said, "You ain't playing until your head's right." Yeah. Obviously, there was the window thing, wasn't there? On would he go, wouldn't he go, and what have you. 90 grand a week. He does as on January. He is free again to talk to other clubs because his contract expires at the end of the year. I think that's one we're just going to take a hit on. I can't see him being offered an extension, and not on those wages anyway. And I think we've just got to make the best of him while we've got him. And if he's prepared to put in the performances, unlike Tielemans, I think that's going to be good for the club.
Yeah, I mean, we all, none of us doubt his ability when his head's in the right space, And again, we keep saying, this is their level, because he was disappointing last year, but everybody was disappointing last year. Yeah. But you expect some players to take it on the shoulders a little bit more, and I'm not sure he did, that steps forward and is more vocal. I still don't think we've got that sort of leader in there. Maybe it'll come from the new players. Maybe the new JJ will turn into a bit of a leader who looks like he wants to take things on and be physical, and maybe it'll be him. But if you get Winks playing well, then it increases the number of clubs who come in for him. So it's in his best interest really to put in a really solid season. Otherwise, he's going to find himself at this level next season as well.
When do you think was the last time we had a leader that like we think?
Yeah.
Because I don't think since probably Huth or somebody like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think when you look at that team, you had Morgan was a different kind of leader.
Yeah,
he was more by example, but a vocal leader. I'm not sure.
Not in Vardy.
I was about to say, dare I mention the JV?
No, I don't think he was either. I mean, the most vocal player we had during all that period was Schmeichel.
Yeah.
And he couldn't really affect the game as much.
And that's when it started to go wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that you've got strong characters who are winners and won't accept dropped standards by anyone else, and they'll fall out with players because of it.
I mean, he came on television so many times and said it's not acceptable. And you knew that once he'd finished that interview, he'd be straight in that changing room telling them the same. I can't see anybody, and I haven't seen anybody for 5 years or so.
No, I don't think there's many of those characters around, Dave, to be honest. I'm not
Perhaps
sure.
they're not allowed to be.
Maybe they're not. It's definitely not this guy, that's for sure.
No.
Oh, let's move on. And this guy is the next one. Again, he's only got till the end of the season. Then he's gone. Wages, I will double check, but I think he's on a fairly decent pay packet. Everybody says they've seen an improvement this year, Dave. To me, this guy is the new Amate.
Yeah, a new improvement, but nothing special. I mean, you still see him wandering around. His tackling isn't great. He commits fouls where he shouldn't. His layoffs sometimes, it's almost bouncing off his ankles or his shins. I dread it when he's facing our goal, even in midfield. He's done a couple of good things, but then he's a professional footballer. But no, he's not there. It was never the answer. And when the going gets tough, I wouldn't want him beside me at all.
Craig, 80,000 he's on. We had, at the start of the season, 6 of the top 10 most highest paid players in the league.
80,000.
Number 1 was Winks on 90 grand a week, but you've got to say he's kind of maybe worth that. But Soumare, 80 grand a week, for what he puts in, I think he's robbing us blind. To
be honest, I don't get hooked up on what they're being paid, to be honest, because it's not their fault and it's not ours. It is what it is. If you want to balance people out and say, are you getting a return on it, then you're probably not getting a return on any of them in terms of what we think they should be paid. No. But Soumare, no, it's not. It's just not enough. To have a little. Some players come on as a sub and they have a cameo. He has a cameo in the game, So he'll put 5 minutes in. He'll think, bloody hell, there's a player there. And then he just goes back to it. He's got no awareness for a midfielder who's in a holding position. He's got no awareness of players running off him. He's never... Good players, even when haven't got the ball, they're constantly looking around them, seeing what's going on. If I get it, who am I giving it to? Who's running down my blind side or whatever? He's probably thinking, what's for dinner? I just don't... I don't see anything in him that says this is a player who can command a football match in the position. He's got everything about him. He's got the physique. When he runs with the ball, he can look really silky with it. But I don't think he's intelligent enough to play that role. And I don't think he's just got that awareness. And for me, he's just blocking. Again, I look at it, are you blocking someone else's progress? And for me, he is. He doesn't. You can afford to play one of the youngsters in terms of what he's giving you. Because he's giving you 10 minutes of a game. If you get a youngster in there and he gives you 20 minutes in a game, then it's a bonus, isn't it? You've got 10 minutes. So I don't see what he brings other than just blocking the development of others, to be honest.
Let's be honest with you, Dave. If you were a manager of a football club other than Leicester and you wanted a defensive midfielder and you looked at this, you said, oh, yeah, we'll go over and, this guy's his contract's at the end of the year. He's a title winner in, was it France where he was? And, he really, let's go and see him. You'd walk away and go, I'm not having him.
Yeah, you would, because he don't put the effort in. He doesn't look like he's in control. All the things Craig said, he's always been a disappointment, always. And
He's like that third child, isn't he? He's always been a disappointment.
No, that's not true. In case she listens. No, I mean, I would rather Hamza in there, which says a lot because, I think obviously he's got his limitations, but at least he'll put a tackle in. And Hamza's problem is as well facing our goal. But I'm not sure. I mean, apart from Page, who's getting fit now, is he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Apparently he was fit, wasn't he, to play?
Golding, maybe.
Golding. Who is he? Golding? Who the fuck is Golding? Dallas, wasn't it? Sorry. But I know. Well, this guy, Dave, let's have a look at him, Skip, because if Winks is playing and Winks is fit and Winks is, obviously we think he's got his head in the right place now, it's always going to be Winks plus another.
No, it shouldn't be. No, it shouldn't be. It should be. I think Skip played okay with him on, was it Coventry they played together, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did all right. Skip's a strange one. He's like one of those midfielders that, a bit like Muzzy was when he started. If he's playing, you think, what's he up to? But if he's not playing, you miss him. That type of player.
You don't think he's one of these?
You don't want it? Throw in the rubbish. Nice one.
I don't think so, no.
I did there, Skip. So Skip, yeah.
I think he's... I've tried to ignore it.
You ignored me for years, so...
He's not as good as I expected him to be. But I think he does a job. He gets that foot in the defence. He does track back, or he seems to. But he doesn't do anything totally spectacular. So he's one of those journeyman type midfield that you need, but you don't appreciate. That's what I think. But
I would say, Craig, that and good points there. I would say, Craig, that I was surprised at the weekend. I mean, Skip and Soumare seem to be Marty's preferred two in that defensive midfield. I'm quite right. I agree with Dave on this. I want to see Hamza because that's his main role. He's not a defensive right back. He can play that reasonably well. But to me, his main role is a central midfielder. And I think he stops the ball, gets it to Winks, and lets Winks go away with it. That's all. It's like they used to say with Robbie Savage, wasn't it? Martin O'Neill used to say to him, just get the ball, then give it to somebody who can play football. But I was surprised at the weekend, with Winks coming back. I thought we'd see Winks and Skip, although last time they played together, it gave me heart palpitations, to be honest with you. I was here with my heart spray. It was that awful. But he stuck with Soumare. But Soumare is, like I say, his contract's out at the end of the year. This guy's got another 3, I think, left now. People did say he was improving. Again, it's improving from what? I accept that. But can he come good this season in this? Because it's all about confidence. If he has a good season in this league, maybe that will take him forward.
I would rather him than Soumare, I think. For me, I think you bin Soumare off in January if you get what you can get for him. And then Skip takes his place on the bench. Because for me, the little I've seen of him, but from what I've seen of him previously, that's the position that I think James Jordan should play in. We've talked a lot about having a box-to-box midfielder. A box-to-box midfielder has to be one of those two. He can't be the 10. So where do you play him? So for me, if Winks is more of a sitter, James Jordan looks like the one who wants to win the ball and then go forward. Whether it's lay it off and then make another pass for a 1-2 or whatever, and wants to get on the edge of the other box. I think you develop him as a proper box-to-box midfielder that we've not had for a long time, and you sit him alongside Winks, and then you play either Ayew or Ramsey when he's back as a 10. I think we've got enough players who can play the 10 that I think you need to develop JJ as a box-to-box midfielder, and you play him alongside Winks.
100% would agree with that, Craig. You've hit the nail on the head there. Look, I'm not going to talk about Bobby De Covery because we've not really seen enough of him, but he came on briefly the other week. But I do know that Marty thinks a lot of him. Maybe he's had a few drinks, but look, in Marty we trust, as they say. So I do want to talk about this guy. I've got two more to go. This guy, then another one, and then we'll round it up. But this is somebody that Dave mentioned earlier, Steffi Mavadidi. Now, I think it sums it up really when you say, aren't we all happy when Monga comes on? But when Monga started, he was not half the player that he was when he comes on as a super sub. And obviously we've got to be careful how we use him because he's still got his A-levels and he's at school and what have you. Some would argue, Dave, that this guy, and he does have 2 or 3 on him when he's on the ball, but does he wear the defenders down so that when Monga comes on, they're bloody knackered?
Well, who knows? I think I sort of remember highlighting when in the Premier that he's so conventional, he's so sort of one trick that everybody caught him out and found him out very early. And everybody knows which way he's going to go, even before he thinks about it. I just think even doing that, where he was good before, he's not now. He had a terrific chance against Coventry, didn't he, if I remember? And tried to beat somebody else. But I don't know, he's been disappointing, very disappointing. And we talk about if he was Woot, then I said Woot. Woot, it's late. I've had a long week. We would be saying
Tuesday.
I know, that's how long it's been. We'd be saying the same about Steffi because his head goes, his shoulders go, and he's kind of saunters back. A bit like Harvey Barnes was, but then Harvey Barnes did a lot of good stuff. Mavadidi's not doing it now, so really disappointing, yeah.
Craig, I suppose he's quite lucky that the player that's most likely to replace him is Monga, and he probably knows that Monga's not going to get all that starting time because of his situation, his age, and what have you. But if he plays 60 minutes, 65 minutes, I remember we used to have a number 10 that, or position-wise, that used to do that next to Jamie. You'd come on and sort of do everything for 60 minutes, and he was absolutely knackered, and he'd go off. A certain Mr. Okazaki.
Yeah. I like Mavadidi more than Dave does. He was very good last time we were in the Championship. Not so good last season.
Did he peak too early, though?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think you'll see a better Mavadidi when he plays Carranza, because you're a winger with nobody in the box. If he plays a proper 10 who wants to get on and score goals, if he's got a box-to-box midfielder who wants to get forward and get on the end of things, and he's got a centre forward who's got some better movement than Ayew, who's still on the halfway line because he wants to play as a 10 instead of the number 9, I think you'll get more out of Mavadidi when you've got players actually making runs, committing other players, creating space around him. And I don't think he's had that. I don't think he had it last season. You look the number of times that our wingers would get forward or the fullbacks would get forward. There's just no one in the box. Yeah, and as a winger, it means you've got to take players on more often than you may well do. So I think he'll be better when Marty makes the decision that Carranza's is number 9.
Oh, I get that. And the thing that annoys me, not annoys me, but frustrates me with Mavadidi and a little bit with Fatou as well, is that, they take on 2 players, so they want to take on 3. Now, that might be because they look up and there's nobody to pass the ball to. The other thing with Mavadidi is, I sometimes think like, shoot, you're there, don't try and get it onto your left foot. If you're a footballer, you've got 2 feet, you're not a one-legged man at an arse-kicking competition. If you've got 2 feet, you should be able to use them both to a certain degree. And yet, when he was through, and I don't know if you saw this on the highlights, when he was through against Coventry, he did hit it first time, and it was straight at the fucking keeper.
That was disappointing, and that smacks to me of someone who's who's lacking in confidence at the minute. You know, he had time to take another touch and then slot it. And I've seen him do it before. He just snatched at it, didn't he? What I do like about him is that he doesn't go hiding. And we've seen other players go hiding. But he always, to me, you know, he has pockets, I guess, but he always looks like someone who wants the ball and believes that the next time something's going to happen. So I like that about him, but I do think he's a big confidence player. And it seems to be that's our left wingers mainly, apart from Monga, who's just got confidence for everyone, I think.
Yes.
But, you know, we've had it in the past, you know, wingers are like that. You know, if things are going well, they're great. As soon as they're not, they tend to hide a little bit. And Mavididi doesn't do that. And hopefully maybe the roles are reversed, that he gets the 10, the 15, the 20-minute cameo and he can start getting back to the best version of himself as well. And because he looks like he cares. You know, you saw him on the bench looking sort of disconsolate, you know, at his chance that he's missed. When he was on the bench and he'd got subbed off, and I think we scored that second goal. I can't remember who it was against, but we second goal, and he was jumping up when I would have
Birmingham.
Birmingham, yeah. And he was up there celebrating. So he looks like he's part of that squad. I think it's just a bit of a confidence thing, and as I say, I think once you get a proper centre forward in there, I think you'll see.
The only thing I'd say, Craig, is that he doesn't actually look. His body language isn't great.
I don't think it ever has been really.
I think that's vital in a team game where the opposition see your body language, like Kelechi, you know, towards the end, and they go, right, we're on top here, we've got him. And I think, you know, that's a problem.
He's a cross between Harvey Barnes and Damari Gray, I think.
Yeah.
Do either of you think that he suffers a little bit because of Fatu on the other side, who just got over at the moment, you know, if he shits, it comes out gold.
Yeah, but Fatu didn't play well on Saturday, did he? He didn't have a great game. He was hiding.
The stats, and it's only when you look at the stats, and I know stats can show things either way, but most of what we do goes down the right-hand side.
Yeah, because he's on fire at the minute, or he was. But, you know, that opens up the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got to be more flexible on that. Because you remember, was it a couple of years ago, the ball hardly went down the right, and the crowd are begging for people to push it down the right side. And he was ignored because Mavididi was on fire. Yeah. So, yeah, it works both ways.
Yeah, it does. Right, the last one, and this is the guy that I said was probably going to lead the line for us this season, and I was right at the start, only because we hadn't got any other choices, because I think it was a case of we'd sooner have this guy starting than Daka, although Daka offers something, I guess, in his own way. But he isn't the number 9. I mean, he is number 9, but he isn't. But that said, he was my man of the match against Coventry, and I'll show you why he's my man of the match. Now, this is not what you want your number 9 to be doing, and maybe this is, as you say, Craig, the number 10 is his better role, but let me just show you his heat map from Coventry. Now, the end where you can see him is our end, and so the top end is the Coventry keeper. I mean, he probably, if he'd have mowed the pitch while he was there, it would have saved the groundsman a job, wouldn't it? Because, I mean, he is all over. And that's what you get with AU. And now Carranza's come in, though, Craig. I agree with what you're saying. He would be a perfect number 10, but he's up against, obviously, Ramsey. But maybe it's that number 10 that comes on, you know, 70 minutes, 65, to just sort of calm down, lads. You know, let's just see this out sort of thing.
Well, he's got another two games to prove himself as the number 10. I hope that he plays Carranza and IU plays as a number 10, because that heat map is not what you want from your number 9.
No.
You know, it's particularly when you've got two tricky wingers, you know, who look up and there's no one there. You know,
although I'd be interested to see Vardy's heat map towards the end of last season, because I reckon that might not be far different to that.
No, I agree. And as I said earlier, it was the same last season. There was just nobody in the box. You know, you see some teams flooding the box. you know, and you'll get something on it. Yeah, you might leave yourself open to a counter attack, but you know that's football, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to get players forward, and the players that he's brought in, JJ, Ramsey, the wingers we've got, Carranza, are all forward-thinking players. So that has to change. You can't be playing around in those areas. That is a 10.
Yeah,
you know, at best, he can't be the number 9. No
but we've
way.
said that all season, haven't we?
Yeah.
Really. He's better when he drops back. Even if
Exactly.
Daka's on,
Yeah.
he's a much better. Well, he's a good. I think he's a decent player anyway. Obviously, I mean, he's done well. But
I wasn't keen on AU when we signed him. I thought, you know, why are we signing this OAP? But I have to say, he is the one player under Cooper that we signed that actually has, well, not necessarily, well, yeah, probably has proved me wrong. You know, when we spoke to a Palace fan when we signed him, and he said what he will do is he will hold the game up, he will get you free kicks as required, you know, and he looked really disappointed when he went down against Coventry and didn't get one. But like you say, I mean, I'm just looking on Transfer Market, and they said his main position is centre forward. His other positions are right and left winger. I don't think it is. You're shaking your head, Craig. I would agree with you. I don't think he is a centre forward. And there was a moment against Coventry, like you say, where the wingers had broken and Ayew was still in the box. Now, I'm not blaming him because he does what the manager says, but he hasn't got the legs to run and get in the box. If he'd got Daka on, yes, he probably would have run and got in the box. He'd have fucking headed it into row Z, but he would have at least got in the box. And number of times that we had a corner and it was Ayew that was heading it away.
Well, you saw the difference when Palace stopped using him as a number 9 and promoted Mateta. You know, they have good wingers. They've had fantastic wingers. Elise, who's now, you know, ripping it up in the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich. Eze, they had some really creative players. They took Ayew out, they put Mateta, and Mateta has been scoring goals for fun. You know, that's what we need to do. We need to get him out, put him in a position where he can affect the game, because he's decent at holding the ball up.
Yes.
You know, he has more touches in a square yard than anyone I've ever seen on a football pitch.
Of course, a bit challenging.
Yeah, you know, I think that has to be his role. You can't progress with him as your number 9.
No, I 100% again nail on the head there. You know, and like I say, it's not his fault that he can't get back up the field quickly. He's 30 odd, you know, 32 is he, something like that? He's not. You know,
it's his fault. It's his fault. And I know, you know, in the heat of a game you want to get on the ball, but it's his fault that he's dropping so deep.
We don't know what Mark is telling
You've got to provide a focal point. You know,
I think it goes back to the same old problem, Craig, where, again, the only chance we've got to compare is Vardy. If you're not getting the ball up front, you go and get it.
Yeah.
Or at least you try and go and get it and make something happen. That's how
I would say he's more mobile than Vardy was in his last couple of seasons.
Yeah. And he's not that unfit. I mean, he's pretty decent pace.
He is, but he's not going to. And when you look at Daka, when Daka comes on, you know, his heat map sometimes is all over the place. We don't know what Marty's telling him to do. I seriously think that, you know, when we concede a corner, that Ayew should be on that halfway line straight away.
Well, this is
occupy 2 of their defenders and keep them out of our bloody box. But
I've always said I'd leave 2 up front, to be honest. How many people do you need to attack the ball?
Yeah, whatever you put up front, they have to have one more defender.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you know, and
nobody seems to do that anymore. Not just you know Leicester.
2 men up front and 1 on each post.
Yeah.
Yay.
But I missed that.
And then the keeper gets it.
Yeah.
But then
I always think, you know, I'd love to know, you know, if you took virtually all of your players out there, what would the opposition do?
Well, they'd panic.
They'd panic, They'd have to gamble. Do we, you know, because then the keeper's got a free run. He just runs into a defender, gets blocked off, to an attacker, gets blocked off, gets a free kick. I just think we make it worse by having more players in the box than less.
It's very Ted Lasso, though, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You know, why not? But you're right, because the attacker goes on the keeper. The defender comes behind the attacker. They also have one in front. Keeper's got no chance of going out to the ball. And if he gets fouled by his own player, that's even worse. Get them out of the way. Let the keeper deal with that 6-yard box, which is how my dad always told me to do it. The 6-yard box is yours, son. You've got to get the ball there.
Ray's just said Carranza needs more minutes and he will score goals. Although I said Cannon, he says, would be the future. Yeah, you fired your bolt there, didn't you? Bum bum. He's not. I was an article about a month ago that said that was the best bit of business Leicester have ever done. We robbed United on that. I did say he was the last one. I had forgotten one, so very quickly, guys. Daka. I don't think we're going to change Daka. I think for what he is, I think Marty's using him right, which is at the end, he brings him on for 15, 20 minutes and he occupies the defence. And I'll go back to, I think it was the Birmingham game, where he was on. He closed down the keeper, made the keeper play it to his left to a defender. Daka then closed down that defender, who then passed it to the winger, and then Daka closed down the winger. And basically that was giving us time to get back into a defensive position, get up, be where we should. Yes, you want your striker to score 20 goals. And in fairness, mate, I know what you're saying about the heat map, but actually I've seen some of his heat maps from last season, and they weren't any worse than Vardy's. But you want your striker to be scoring goals. But again, if you're 1-0 up or you 1-1, you stick him on, Craig, and you know he's going to occupy the defenders.
I agree. I think, again, he gets far too much stick because people are looking... They're looking very narrow at what a centre forward does, and yes, their main job is to score goals, and no way does he score enough. But the other attributes to his game, particularly in the last 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whether you're winning or whether you're chasing a goal, he has a valuable role to play. Because if you're ahead, then he's not allowing the opposition to get players forward and put the pressure on you. He occupies them higher up the pitch rather than we've seen, famously in the Spurs game where Rodgers basically put on every defender he could, and you just allow them to come on to you. With Daka, that doesn't happen because he will occupy them. He won't let those defenders settle and pick out a pass. So he's got a role to play. Yeah. And I think as long as he's happy knowing that that's his role and Marty can get the best out of him, then I think he's valuable to be sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
I just hope he gets a shin on the ball.
Yeah, I do. I'd love him to.
And that could set him off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, going to say, Dave, we'll end it on this. Again, going back to a certain Mr. Okazaki, whose main position was centre forward. His second position was just behind that, but main position centre forward. Could also play on the left wing, apparently. But you could say there, as a striker, whether it's the centre forward or the second striker, he wasn't getting that many goals for us. But he was very good at supporting Jamie Vardy.
He was a nuisance, wasn't he? That was the thing. I mean, he was a bundle of energy, bundle of fun. He didn't actually... Did he finish a game ever? Or... I can't ever remember him having a full game for us. But what a legend. I mean, the guy was a nuisance. You don't want players like that. Players like Robbie Savage, who just chased everything and kicked things, It was important to have a player like that. And Daka could, if you could get a bit nasty about it, and in an area where it doesn't really matter. But it would make the defenders wary so that the others could come in and take advantage. Yeah. I don't think I've been a massive critic of his, have I, over the years. But I think it'd be nice for him to score a couple of goals and see how it goes from there. Yeah, and
I think he peaked early with that Moscow game. And
that was unfortunate, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, it wasn't unfortunate. Good at the time, but we just thought, hang on, we've got the new Messi here.
We've had a couple like that have done that. Peaked. Mark Bright was a classic. Got a couple against Lineker when Lineker went to Everton. Yeah, and that was about it, wasn't it?
Yeah. Another one, Craig, just to liken him, Peter Beardsley, you always think, what a fantastic player. But when he played for England, very few goals because he was setting up Gary Lineker.
Is what they used to call a foil.
That's the word. That is the word. And do you think Daka kind of is our foil?
Well, I don't think so because we don't play two. You know, a foil has to play in a pair. You know, and we don't do that anymore. I don't think anybody bloody does it anymore because everybody's.
Sometimes they have two on though when he comes on.
Yeah, when he comes on, if you're going to do it, if you're chasing a game, I
Well,
think that's the only way.
do they? Because then they drop IU back, don't they?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure they do play two up when he comes
so
on.
I don't think that kind of football philosophy is around anymore.
That's why it's boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Granza will change that. Maybe he'll change that.
Maybe he will. Maybe he will. Thank you. There'll be no Foxes Forum next week because we've got Wrexham on Tuesday.
Yeah. That
should be interesting.
Good luck, Danny Ward.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's not playing. He's injured, isn't he?
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
We've got Cody, you know.
Didn't notice.
I know. But don't you just know that Cody's going to go up for a corner and knock the winner in off his head?
Yeah, probably.
It'd be so Leicester, wouldn't it?
Play Daka against him. That would work.
Yeah.
You'd think Connor would Wrexham hate him. But not that keen on Danny Ward either. Guys, I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you both very much indeed. Sorry for messing you about, mate, guys. And all the best. Take care.
Yeah. Take care. See you, Craig. Cheers, mate.
No.
Thanks very much to Craig there and to Dave. One wise old owl, one maybe not so. He's gone, I can say that about him. But thanks very much, everybody. We'll be back. We might be doing something tomorrow. I don't know yet. But we'll definitely be back on Thursday with the preview. And cheers, Craig. Thanks very much, mate. We've got the prediction show, which Craig isn't necessarily doing that well in. I bet you wish you had 2 points, mate. but then again, neither am I. So I'm not going to say anything. But there's a lot of people got 0 points last week. It was like watching Eurovision all over again. But we're back at 7 with that. 9 o'clock, we've got a West Bromwich Albion and we've got a Baggy fan on to talk about the game. And then before kick-off, about 5 o'clock, we'll be doing the press conference review before the watch-along at 7:15. Thank you very much. Remember, please smash the like, subscribe if you're new, share the video. You can do exactly the same if you're watching on catch-up. And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, wherever that may be, thank you very much for lending me your ears. Cheers, Ray and Prashant and everybody else that's been in the chat. Really do appreciate you joining in and your time. Have a good rest of the night. Sorry we were a little bit late going. Microsoft problem on my computer. Like I say, I had to turn it on 3 or 4 times and it still wasn't working. You know what it's like. See you on Thursday, if not tomorrow. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.